And we're back. Wes Gralapp returns with our Neblett, Beard, and Arsenault Legal Difference segment. We're going to focus on Maritime and Jones Act on this the weekly segment. Thanks for joining us, Wes. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Mark. You know, the Jones Act is dear to me because it is the law that protects people who work on our waterways.
Right.
The Red River here in Alexandria is a significant waterway that goes all the way up into Oklahoma. And we have a lot of folks here who work out on the Red River, as well as folks in central Louisiana who work offshore on drilling rigs and whatnot. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to refresh everybody's memory how those workers are protected, and they're protected by the Jones Act.
Yeah, okay. Quickly remind people what the Jones Act is and how does someone know if they're actually protected by it?
The Jones Act is a law that was created to protect our offshore workers, our on-water workers, by the government because they suffer from the perils of the sea. Mm-hmm. So your traditional Jones Act seamen, we call them Jones Act seamen because they qualify as being people who are members of a vessel performing the duties of the vessel. The easiest example for that would be that if you work on a tugboat on the Red River and you're a deckhand and you tend to the barges, well, you would be a Jones Act seaman. Mm-hmm. The important distinction of being a Jones Act seaman versus being an employee on land is that a Jones Act seaman has greater rights to benefits than a regular workers' comp employee on land.
Okay, and Wes, if what should someone do if they suffer a maritime injury?
Well, they should report the injury immediately to their supervisor, but it's important for them to understand that the main difference is that they can collect 100% of their damages. They're not limited to workers' comp. Mm-hmm. In fact, they qualify for workers' comp. What they do qualify for is what is called maintenance and cure. And maintenance and cure is somewhat like workers' comp. It pays for your medical bills, but it does not provide a weekly wage like workers' comp does.
Hey, Wes, what should, as far as seeking compensation for an offshore injury, and you know, we have a number of people in this area who are offshore workers.
The best thing to do is to call an attorney who has experience and qualifications that allows them to help you under the Jones Act. Not all attorneys are familiar with how this works. Uh-huh. It's very important that you seek the right counsel if you're injured while working on the water.
Yeah, and what about if you're injured working on an unsafe vessel?
If you're injured on an unsafe vessel, then you can make a claim regardless of whether you are a qualified seaman or not. That is a general maritime law claim. And let's say that we call them seafarers, but let's say that you're a passenger on a ferry crossing a river, and somehow or another you trip on something or fall as a result of the negligence or inappropriate substance on the floor or something on a ferry boat, then you can make a claim against that boat and boat owner in the same way that anyone else could.
Yeah, if I work on a rig or a dredge, would I be protected under the Jones Act?
You would if that rig or dredge was considered to be a vessel. Mm-hmm. There are many characteristics of vessels that are distinct and unique and recognized by the law. But the best thing to do is not to try to make that decision yourself. The best thing to do is to call an attorney, and he can help you determine whether or not you have a claim or what type of claim you have, because you may have a longshoreman claim.
Okay, that leads to my next question. If I'm a longshoreman or a dock worker, am I protected under the Jones Act?
You're not protected under the Jones Act, but you are protected under the Longshoremen and Harbor Workers Compensation Act. That is a federal law and it's a glorified workers' compensation law that we're familiar with for our people on land here in Louisiana. But essentially, you're entitled to 2/3 of your lost wages and your medical treatment, regardless of who's at fault.
Hey, Wes, is there a difference? Obviously, there's a difference between a land rig and an offshore rig.
Well, certainly there is. They perform in function in that they're extracting minerals and oil out of the ground.
Yeah.
But but working offshore puts you in a category where if you're injured, you're going to receive a different type of compensation. If you're on land, if you're working on a land rig, then you're going to be entitled to workers' comp unless a third party caused your injury.
Okay. Hey, Wes, thanks for joining us. We can continue this discussion next Thursday, but thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. And again, if somebody has any questions about the Jones Act, best way to get in touch?
Call us at Neblett, Beard, and Arsenault, 561-2500.
Got it. Take care, Wes. Have a good day.
Thank you.
We have more to come.